Have you ever wondered why we want to live longer? Is it because we truly love life, or is it because we fear death? Hello, this is Ligia Houben. Welcome to Transforming Grief, a space where we come together with an open mind and open heart. As we explore today's topic, I want to invite you to just listen and get in touch with your feelings as we pondered what makes us wanting to live longer. And I ask you that because we can see all over the place that there are so many things about anti-aging, living longer, and people wanting to stay young for a long time. So what is making us want that? We may even see a concept of grieving our youth, because as we grow older, there are many changes. There are many things that we go through, and sometimes people want to keep the time just like in a little box. And the anti-aging concept comes very strong. There are times when we think, well, I want to live longer because I, I want to do so many projects. I want to be more with my family. I want to see my grandchildren grow up. I want to do so many things. I want to travel. Is that your case? Maybe you want to study something else. Maybe you want to explore a new career. There are so many things that may happen that you want to live longer. On the other hand, and that's when we tap into existentialism, right? When we wonder, is it because we fear death? And death is a topic that we explore sometimes very far away. We don't want to go there. Why not? Because we may be scared. It is so interesting. I just did a presentation here at the center. I did a workshop talking about exploring death and dying. And that topic that happens to all of us, we are all going to die. Our loved ones are going to die. However, we want to avoid the topic. We want to avoid the subject matter because it is too scary to face that reality. And then we may go into, well, I want to live longer. What I want to invite you today is to take a moment, take a pause, and ask yourself, what is my position? What do I fear? You know that I have a video on TikTok because I am in TikTok, and this caught my attention. I have a video on thanatophobia. Oh, well, because I told you when I introduced myself in the first video about this new chapter of Transforming Grief, I said that I am a thanatologist. And you may be wondering, what is thanatologist? It comes from the word thanatos. Thanatos is death in Greek. So thanatology is the study of death and dying. Now, when we talk about thanatos, what is a reaction? Many people have actually fear. They develop phobias. And that video that I have in TikTok, and I believe is the one in Spanish, thanatophobia, it got so many viewers. Actually, it's the video that has much more viewers than the rest. I think it was around 1 million viewers. And what is that? Why is that? Because that's something that attracts people, that concept of fear of death. And now, as we talk about this, and we may wonder, well, when we are grieving, what is that we are grieving? We are grieving the concept of non-existent, because when we see death, say, okay, it has to do with what we think death is, what we think happens after we die. The concept is that we cease existing. I remember many years ago, I was actually starting my practice like 20 years ago. There was this gentleman who came that was actually very scared about dying. He was around 60 years old. He had lost his father, and he was really puzzled with the concept of dying because he said, well, what happens? When I die, that's it. I do not exist anymore. And that was a sense of fear. And he was grieving actually. That's why he came to see me, because he said, I am suffering from what we call anticipatory grief, that we are grieving before the fact. So he was already grieving the fact that he was going to stop living. And sometimes the fear of dying stops us from enjoying life. And that's what I want to bring to your attention today. Yes, we are all going to die. However, we have life now. And instead of just wondering and all those what if what's going to happen when we die, what about if we pay attention to the life we have now? If you have strong emotions about dying, if you are grieving that is going to happen to you, or if you are grieving also the possibility of losing a loved one, that can also prevent you from living fully. What I suggest you do is take a piece of paper, sit down in a relaxed manner, and ask yourself, what is making me fear death? Am I really living life? Many years ago, I taught a course at Florida International University here in Miami. I live in Miami, and it's known as FIU. Many years ago, I taught this course, and it was on death and dying. And I remember that I would tell my students every single week, because it was a 3 hour course, weekly, and I would tell my students, this week, do 4 things, because are the 4 things that matter most, inspired by the book of Ira Byock, and are these: say more I love yous, say more thank you, say more forgive me, and say more I forgive you. When we come to realize that death is a reality and it's there, and we want to just redirect and go into living with more meaning, with more purpose, you know what? We would fight much less, because we would appreciate the time that we have with our loved ones. We would appreciate more the time we have in this world. So that is something that, just as I did with my students back then, I say to you, take the time. Say more I love you. Say more thank you. Say more I forgive you. And say more forgive me. That's a message that I leave today to you, because let's, instead of focusing so much into living longer, what if the life we have, and if we live a long time, just like my mom, that she was a centenarian, which was an amazing gift. However, let's focus on the time we have. Live more intentionally, give more love, forgive more, and be more grateful. Until next time, and remember to subscribe to the channel, and also leave comments, because that's beautiful. If you leave comments, remember that I'm going to also have guests here, or we can also do it virtually. It will be great if we come together, we share stories, storytelling, as I say, that is beautiful. And I believe like our next conversation is going to be about that, actually, about storytelling, about saying our story, sharing it with others. Until next time, from my heart to yours.